The night the relic surfaced, the wind over dry mesa carried a sound no one could explain, something between a dying whistle and a warning howl. It slithered through the ranch fences, rattled the loose tin sheets on the barn roof, and pressed cold against the windows of Everett Cole's small, lonely house. Everett had heard coyotes, wolves, rusted hinges, even ghosts if the whiskey was strong enough. But he had never heard anything like that. By dawn, he would wish he'd never heard it at all. The hook of trouble came the moment Everett's shovel hit something solid beneath the dust behind his windmill, something older than the ranch itself, older than any map, older than any man had a right to disturb. When he crouched beside the half-buried object, his fingers trembled in the cold morning light. What he brushed free from the soil was not a stone, not a bone, not a tool. It was a carved obsidian plate, blacker than night, smooth as water, heavy as a grave, and carved deep across its face was a symbol he didn't understand. 2 circles, one broken, one whole, crossed by a jagged spear. The instant sunlight hit it, the wind on the mesa stopped. Every sound in the world seemed to die at once, and something somewhere began to look for it. Everett straightened slowly, the relic cradled in his dusty palms, his breath sharp in his throat. He felt as if invisible fingers had wrapped around his spine, pulling, dragging him toward a fate he didn't want. He set the relic on the ground, but the pull stayed inside him. He should have left it there. He should have buried it again. He should have run. Instead, he picked it up. By noon, riders appeared on the horizon. 6 of them. Apache riders, painted, silent, watching him from across the sunburnt, fields like carved statues brought to life. Everett's horse snorted nervously. Everett himself felt his pulse stumble, rise, and hammer against his ribs. The Apache never came to his land, not for trade, not for talk, and never like this, stoic, grim, mounted like warriors from another century. Their leader, a tall man with braids tied in red cloth, nudged his horse forward. His eyes were dark and unreadable. His voice, when it came, felt heavy with something more ancient than anger. "You have found it," the warrior said. Everett swallowed. "Found what?" The man pointed, not at Everett, but at the object wrapped in the old feed sack and tied to Everett's saddle. "That relic," the leader said, "is not meant to be held by any man outside our people." Everett's throat dried. "I didn't know." "You do now." Another rider dismounted, a woman with high cheekbones and fire-bright eyes. She stepped close enough that Everett smelled dust and sage on her clothing. "Give it to us," she said quietly, "or you will not survive the night." Everett had dealt with threats before, rustlers, drunks, bounty hunters. But something in her voice wasn't a threat at all. It was a prophecy. Still, Everett's stubbornness, the same stubborn streak that had kept him alive through drought, fire, and debt, made him hesitate. "Why?" he asked. The woman blinked once. "Because you have awakened it." The wind rose sharply as if the world agreed. By sunset, everything would spiral far beyond his understanding. Everett stood inside his barn, staring at the relic where he'd unwrapped it, the black plate absorbing the lamplight like a hungry mouth. Outside, the Apache riders camped in utter silence. They didn't threaten him. They didn't sit close to the fire. They didn't speak. They simply watched him, watched the barn, watched the hills as if something worse was coming. He couldn't shake the feeling that the world was holding its breath. Just after dusk, the Apache woman, her name was Nalin, stepped into the barn doorway without a sound. "You should come outside," she whispered. "Why?" "Because the one who lost the relic has awakened." Everett's skin prickled. "Who?" "The one who made that carving. The one who was buried with it. The one who should never walk again." Everett suddenly wished the conversation had ended hours ago. Outside, the riders had formed a half-circle facing the darkening mesa. Their horses stomped and shivered, breath pluming like smoke. The leader, Tsana, sat rigid in the saddle, eyes locked on the ridge. Everett followed their gaze. At first, he saw nothing but shadows. Then one of the shadows moved. A figure, tall, wrapped in something like hide or cloth, torn by centuries. It stood barely visible in the moonlight, as still as a stone pillar. Yet the air around it shook as if the land shrank away from its presence. Everett felt something inside his chest twist. Something painful. Something violating, as if the figure's gaze reached inside him through the night. Nalin stepped beside him. "The relic keeps him bound." "You unearthed it." He woke, and now he's coming for it. The figure stepped forward. Everett stepped back. "Give it to him," Everett whispered hoarsely. "No," Santa said. "If you give it, all our people will suffer. This land will bleed again." The figure began to descend the ridge like a drifting shadow, silent, inevitable. Everett grabbed Nalan's arm. "What do you expect me to do? I'm just a rancher." Nalan turned to him with eyes burning like embers. "Tonight," she said, "you are the one who dug up our past. That means you must stand with us and put it back." The figure's shape had become clearer, taller than any living man. Shoulders broad, movements wrong, sliding as if feet did not fully touch the ground. Everett felt something cold leak into his bones. The Sena dismounted. "Prepare," he said to his warriors. The riders formed a defensive circle. They took out blades carved from bone, obsidian long knives and bundles of sage smoke. None of it looked enough. The figure reached level ground. The earth trembled. When it spoke, its voice was the scrape of a coffin lid dragged open. "Return what?" "Is mine." Everett's heart froze in his chest. His teeth chattered even though the air was warm. Sena raised his knife. "You will not have it." The creature did not walk. It glided, impossible and horrifying. The horses bucked in terror. The warriors braced. Everett backed up until his shoulders hit the barn wall. Nalan pressed something into his hand. A second carved plate. Smaller, cracked, glowing faintly with blue light. "Hold this over the relic," she said. "When Sena gives the word." "What will it do?" Everett asked. "Seal him away again." The creature stopped 10 feet from the circle, its empty face turning toward Everett. "You," it rasped. "Buried thief. Fleshwalker. You touched the binding that held me. Give it back." Sena shouted a command in Apache. The warriors struck their knives into the earth, drawing a line of fire that encircled the creature, but the creature simply stepped through it. The fire died instantly. Everett's breath hitched. Sena's jaw clenched. "Now!" he roared. Nalan grabbed Everett's arm and dragged him toward the barn. Behind them, the creature surged forward. Everett snatched the relic from the crate, slammed the glowing cracked plate onto it, and instantly, the two carvings fused with a burst of heat and blinding blue light that knocked him backward. The creature screamed, a sound so violent Everett felt his bones vibrate. But it didn't retreat, it lunged. Nalan pushed Everett aside, taking the brunt of the creature's strike. She hit the ground hard, gasping. Sena and the warriors charged, slashing with obsidian blades that sparked against the creature's shadow flesh. "Raise it!" Nalan cried. "Hold it up." Everett forced himself to his feet, lifting the fused relic with shaking arms. The blue light flared brighter, casting twisting shadows across the land. The creature shrieked as if the light burned it. It staggered. Sena dove forward, driving his long knife into the creature's chest. The blue light surged through the blade. The creature convulsed. Its body cracked like dried earth. The wind howled. The air rippled. Everett felt something pull at the world, pulling everything toward the relic in his hands. "Do not drop it," Nalan screamed. Everett held on with every ounce of strength he had. The light tore across the mesa like a storm. The creature's form shattered, dissolving into ash and dark mist that spiraled toward the relic. Everett screamed as the force nearly broke his arms. And then, silence. The wind died. The night went still again. The last fragments of the creature vanished into the now dim relic. Everett collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. Sena and the warriors stood around him, exhausted, scorched, trembling. Nalan wiped blood from her mouth and staggered upright. "It is done," she whispered. "For now." Everett looked at the relic, now dull, cracked, harmless looking. "Take it," Everett said, forcing it into Sena's hands. "Please, take it far away from here." Sena nodded solemnly. "We will, and we will bury it where no man will ever dig again." Nalan touched Everett's shoulder gently. "You were brave," she said. "Most men would have run." Everett shook his head. "I wanted to, but you didn't." The Apache gathered their belongings, mounted, and prepared to depart. Sena looked back once. "If the night ever howls like that again," he said, "do not investigate." "Right away." Everett nodded numbly. The riders vanished into the darkness, taking the relic with them. The ranch felt wrong now, emptier, colder, as if some echo of the creature still watched from the shadows. Everett walked back to his porch and sat heavily in the chair, staring at the silent mesa. He could still hear the creature's voice inside his skull. "Return what is mine." He shivered violently. He knew he would never sleep the same way again. He knew the land beneath his feet hid more than bones and stones. He knew he had seen something he was never meant to see. And worst of all, as the first pale hint of morning touched the horizon, the wind rose again. Soft, whispering, familiar, Everett closed his eyes. The creature had been sealed. But something else, something older, had awakened when the Relic's burial was disturbed. And whatever it was not done with him yet.